Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to give you a deep dive and a complete breakdown of the new Descent game mode in the Division 2. The Year 5 Season 1 update has just gone live on the PTS as of this last week. There are a lot of questions going around from people about what this mode is, what all the different components to it are, and so I want to try and answer as many of those questions as I can. If you end up enjoying this video, a like would be very appreciated, and be sure to click that subscribe button as well as turning on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos and content. Without further ado, let's get into this. Alright, so let's start out with a very simple question of who can play this new mode. Well, obviously right now it is only available on the public test server, but when this update launches, which is set for early June, it's going to be accessible to every single player who owns the base Division 2 game. Usually these days, new content is exclusive to owners of the Warlords of New York expansion, and you have to be at level 40, but with the Descent mode, because it's entirely disconnected from the rest of the game, anybody who owns the base game can play it as soon as they hit the White House. So if you've got a friend who just bought the game and wants a taste of something more than just the campaign experience, you can jump into it with them right away. Anybody can play it. Another big question going around is what kind of rewards does the mode have, because specifically the PTS doesn't have all of the full aspects of what it's going to contain. The simple answer is that while we do not have full details yet, this mode will give you rewards for the main game by playing it. It's not like you're just playing it for no reason. You will get experience, and you will also get some sort of item rewards for the main game by playing this. Again, we don't have full details on that, but apparently that is being imported into future PTS phases. So either in Phase 2 or Phase 3, we'll have a better idea of how rewards are handled for playing Descent. So let's move on and talk about just the basic gist of the mode. What is Descent? Well, it's a one life mode. Once you die in there, you're done. You gotta restart and nothing carries over. It's similar to Survival from the Division 1 in that sense, where it's just a one life mode, but it does have a lot deeper progression than Survival did. Because what you're doing all this time while you're in the mode is you are earning, stacking, and combining different talents from across the different gear and weaponry in the Division 2 to create unique builds that are unlike any other you can do in the rest of the game in the Descent mode. Along with that, you're buying restocks and different power-ups to help power you up as you continue on to try not to lose that one life that you have. And while you are working towards a pretty fixed goal that we will talk about momentarily, it is an endless mode, and you can keep going to what they call having an infinite difficulty curve. And for pushing those limits, they do have what they call exclusive leaderboard rewards. I don't fully know what those are yet, but I assume we'll hear more about that in the future. Alright, so let's talk about the starting experience that you're going to have when you load into the Descent mode, because the first about 5 levels for everybody is going to be pretty consistent. When you load in, you have nothing other than a gray pistol and the clothes on your back. The game then directs you to the wall where you pick one weapon and one skill to start out your arsenal. The options here are completely randomized, and you will be stuck with it for at least a little while, so choose wisely. After that, you then get your first choice of which room you want to head into. This is a choice system that you're going to encounter a lot in this mode. And while there are 3 difficulty levels in this mode to be aware of, you're going to start out with the first 2 choices, which are easy and medium. Now, the different colors that you will see around those symbols denote the different talent options you will have once you clear said room. Red for offensive, blue for defensive, and yellow for utility. Now, we'll come back to how talents exactly work in a moment, but on each room choice that you're making, you will also see a certain amount of credits that will be awarded for you completing that room. You get more for doing a harder difficulty room. It'll reward you with both credits you can use in and outside of the mode, and we will cover both of those in a bit. And lastly, each room gives you a certain amount of a heat gauge, and that works into the Nemesis system. Once again, we'll come back to that shortly. So the first 5 rooms are just one wave of enemies. Usually they are all red, and it's pretty straightforward. But because this is a roguelite mode, you do have to be very careful in combat. You can't just go and face roll everything, because it is very much like you were back at the start of the game, where you and the enemies are on much more even playing fields. Now, after you complete each room is when you're going to get your choice of talents. You will see every time that you do it, you open it up, there are a choice of 3 talents. And again, you'll know what category they're going to be from by the colors that were on the room before you went in there. But these are combinations of talents from past and present in the Division 2. You'll see some passive ones back from Year 1 like Surgical or Insulated. You'll see current ones like Obliterate or Preservation. And you get to combine and add these to your character, and they will be there permanently until you either decide to replace them or whatever the case may be. Now, on your 5th room, you're going to come across an Arena difficulty room, and this denotes that there is going to be a boss within there. Upon defeating that boss, you're going to get your choice of your first exotic talent. This is easily one of the coolest coolest parts of the mode, and that's the fact that you can combine these talents that are previously, locked to certain items on anything. You want an M4 that has the Diamondback's exotic talent? Go for it. You want the Bullet King's infinite ammo thing to apply to your MPX? Go for it. The possibilities are really endless. Now, after Room 5 and you complete that first arena challenge, that is what is considered one loop. After that, you head back to the starting area. You have a new choice of either a new weapon or a skill, so you can start building up your arsenal a little bit more. You get to restock there. You can also spend some of those credits that you've earned for the in-game stuff. And from here on out, when you're playing through the subsequent loops, that's when you're going to start seeing more randomness involved. Stuff like different hazards will appear in the rooms, different fire things. You'll see multiple waves of enemies. You'll see more veterancy, more purples and elites. You'll see different difficulties, like the third hard tier will start being introduced and you can choose that. I've even seen arena difficulties be offered even before you get to the 5th end of a loop. And the more you continue, the more you're going to continue building up that talent arsenal. You can carry at base 3 talents per category, offensive, defensive, and utility. You can purchase additional slots up to 6 per category. And what's really cool is you can stack talent. So let's say I have preservation, right? If I get that choice 2 more times, I can add it on, and suddenly it goes from I'm getting 7% armor per kill to 21% armor per kill. You can do that with any of the talents. They all stack up. So you can mix and match, you can replace ones once you realize you don't want that anymore, you can stack up ones you want to be more effective. It's really cool. Let's then talk about the Nemesis system, because this is really the main goal of the mode. You're building up to this Nemesis encounter. This is related to that heat gauge thing I was talking about, and you might see as you play through Descent yourself. And what this is that once that heat gauge goes up to 100%, you're then going to face a Nemesis encounter. And what that is it is a copy of yourself. Whatever gun you have, talent you have, skills you have, it's all you. You're fighting yourself, and they have the AI of pretty much a hunter, a rogue agent, one of those. It's a really cool concept. The arena you fight them in is really neat. I'm not going to use too much footage of it because I don't want to spoil the experience if you want to go in and do it for yourself. But it's a cool thing to build up to. And the way that the heat gauge works is that it actually gives you less heat gauge for harder difficulty stuff. So what that means is if you want to tackle those harder rooms, you have more time to build up your arsenal and prepare for the Nemesis fight. Whereas you're taking on those easy rooms, you'll get to the Nemesis quicker and you might be a bit under-leveled to fight them. Now, do note that you can continue on in the Descent mode after you defeat the Nemesis. It doesn't end there. Descent is an endless mode. However, your heat gauge timer will not reset. There is only one Nemesis that you will fight per run in Descent. To talk about a few additional things we might have mentioned earlier, there is a secondary currency that you can use outside of the Descent mode. You'll find the vendor for it over at the NSA building, which is just to the side of the White House. I'll show a picture of it here on screen. And this vendor offers stuff that's beneficial to you for your subsequent runs of Descent. This includes things like extra exotic drop chances, stat bonuses like headshot damage, accuracy, etc. I'm not 100% clear if they are just for your next run or they're permanent, but I'm inclined to believe they're permanent. And honestly, that's going to be a very good incentive to not provide an infinite reason to play Descent, but enough to max that out, and then you're going to have extra exotic drop chances and all this other stuff. Descent could become a very lucrative spot to farm in the game, similar to Countdown. So everybody, for now, that is about all I have for your Descent breakdown. There are many more small, minute details to be aware of, but at a broad level, that is what you need to know about the Descent mode. It is a roguelite experience in the Division 2, something unlike we've ever seen them do before, and it's pretty fun. You can play this in a group with up to 4 people, and that's something that I want to experience. I want to see how that scaling kind of works with everything. But for now, for these few, first 48 hours that we've had with Descent, it seems like a lot of people are taking on to it, and I'll be curious to hear the wider community's response. Let me know any thoughts or questions you were having on the Descent mode after watching this video. How do you think this new game mode stacks up to the rest that we have in the history of the Division? Any additional questions you may have about the mode, feel free to ask down below, and I will answer to the best of my ability. But that is all I have for you today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Out.